Hello and welcome back to Teacher Kenny's English for Everyone. Hope you've been doing okay. It is hot outside. It is like 104 degrees right now as I'm talking to you. Oh, I'm melting. But I hope you're doing alright. Hope you've been studying. Hope you're learning something. If you're new to the channel, subscribe to this channel or I'm going to get you. I'll come hunt you down. Not really, but subscribe. Today we're going to do a little listening video. I've pretty much covered every aspect of grammar that I can think of, within reason. If there's particular things that you want to learn about, let me know. Put something in the remarks, and we'll do a lesson on it, okay? I'm here to help you, all right? But we're going to do a little listening video today, and what I want you to do is watch this video without captions first. All right, this is for YouTube, and I can put captions in the editing and you watch it again, or you hit the button on YouTube and just watch the captions on YouTube. They're pretty good. They've been doing it for a while, so they're not going to get too far off course from what I'm saying. But we're going to talk about overpopulation today. There's lots of things I can talk about, but this was a lesson that I had in my textbook, and I was looking at lessons here the other day of some of my students could do, or we could do, like this video. But we're going to tackle overpopulation, all right? And some answers may be really short, and some of them, let's see what we get, all right? But listen careful. I'm an American, so I'm speaking American English, and I got the hard R's and all those classic American traits. Let's take a look. The first question we got is, what springs to mind when you hear the word overpopulation? When I first hear the word overpopulation, I immediately think about my days in China, or I think about India, Bangladesh, places that have overpopulation. I mean, like way too many people. So that comes to my mind first, the very first thing. Number two, now this is going to be pretty obvious, but they're asking it. I'm looking here. I'm actually on ESLdiscussions.com. It was easier to find my lesson here than to go open up my textbook and find it. So I'll tell you guys, this is a good website. It's ESLdiscussions.com. What are the causes of overpopulation? Well, let me guess. It probably has something to do with the birds and the bees and what comes natural in the dark, right? You can't have a population if you're not performing certain things, okay? So we'll leave that alone, and we'll look at number three. What problems does overpopulation create? Overpopulation, if you are from one of those countries, you probably know firsthand. If you are from India or China or places like that, if you have too many people, you usually start going into unsanitary conditions. Maybe the sewage is not good. Maybe the water is not safe, which I'm sure it's not. If you're in an overpopulated country, you're probably drinking bottled water all the time. Water is usually safe enough to boil and cook with. But overpopulation is a breeding ground for disease. It's a breeding ground, obviously, for poverty. If you have a huge population living together, they're almost never rich, or the rich will live away from the masses. So overpopulation creates a lot. Number four, what can governments do to deal with overpopulation? Well, It's pretty simple. If the government gets involved, you got to try to regulate it somehow, and you got to provide, birth control and things to the people. All right, because again, I talked about you're dealing with poverty, and people may not be able to take care of themselves like they should. But you can't go so far to do like China did with the one-child policy. They were trying to control overpopulation, and look what happened. Now you created a monster because nobody wants to have a girl because they want a boy to carry on the family, and you got about 127 boys to every 100 girls. So you have not just an overpopulation, and what can the government do? Well, the government needs to keep their hands out of that aspect of birth control, saying you can only have one child, because, like I said, in China, everybody just wanted a boy, and it was unfair to the girls. So there is a fine line of what the government should and should not do. And I could go on about that. There's a lot of things I saw when I first went over there to China, because the one-child policy was still in effect, and it creates a lot of problems. Number 5, is there a single action the world can take to reduce overpopulation? Now, did you hear that? Is there a single action the world can take to reduce overpopulation? I will say probably not. Not one thing. Overpopulation kind of goes from country to country, and the only thing you can do as a world is maybe make sure everybody has access to birth control. That's the only thing I can think of. It's either that or just stop having kids. That's just my thought on that. Number 6, when did overpopulation start to be a problem? For the longest time, most countries, remember we had to go from a rural farmer planning, from hunter-gatherer to farmer planning lifestyle, and move into the city with the coming of technology. Technology means you had to have workers also, so people could come to the city and have jobs. So that turn of the century, I think when we got from the 1800s into the early 1900s, I think places in the world were already beginning to have effects of overpopulation. Remember, overpopulation is something that nobody's ever really had. Sure, you had big cities, but you didn't need skyscrapers, and you didn't have those gigantic problems hadn't existed until this turning of the centuries, this late 1800s, early 1900s. And so I would say that's when the beginning started, and people in the big cities and the governments of the big cities had to figure out how to survive and deal with overpopulation. Number 7, is underpopulation a problem? Yeah, I think in places it could be. If you're underpopulated, maybe the industries where you live don't have enough workers, or maybe the birth ratios are different between boy and girl, just kind of like what I was talking about in China. Underpopulation could affect those same things. What if there was 10 girls for every 2 boys, and you just needed to make babies? See, that's a two-way street. It's a two-way problem. Number 8, who does overpopulation affect the most? Well, again, I think we go back to overpopulation affects the poor people the most. Rich people have money. Rich people don't have the problems that the poor people do. So I would think every time the poor people suffer, the masses always suffer. Number 9, do you think the problem of overpopulation will become bigger or smaller? Well, right now, I think it's just going to get bigger until some disease comes in and wipes out everybody. You know, there may be a new super COVID out there that may wipe everybody out. But for right now, we're going to have to deal with the Asian countries and the African countries and places where poor people live. We're going to have to deal with overpopulation. Number 10, are there any positive things about overpopulation? Well, the only positive thing I can think of is you can have a massive workforce, and every industry can have plenty of people to go to work. That's the only thing I can think of. Now, there's a second set of questions I'm going to go through. And number 1, is overpopulation a problem in your town or country? Excuse me, guys. I just got dry mouth today. I always got dry mouth. Well, here in America, we don't have to deal with that, thank goodness. Yeah, there's 315 million people, but we're scattered, and there's not a problem right now. And I don't see a problem. Do natural disasters reduce overpopulation? They don't help it. If it's a natural disaster, you could wipe out entire cities, but I don't think the overpopulation in general is going to go away, again, unless you have Noah's flood, you know, and the whole world is, you know, going to suffer. Are there problems of overpopulation, or are the, let me say this again, now listen careful, let me speak careful. Are the problems of overpopulation different in developed and developing worlds? The problems may not be so different, but, well, actually, I think they're the same. I think if you're a developing country or a developed country, the problems are the same, but the results can be different. If you are in a poor, underdeveloped country, it's just going to take a lot more food and medicine and making the water and sewage systems modern. I think the underdeveloped countries have a lot more work to do to try to catch up with everybody else. How big a threat to the planet is overpopulation? All right. So planet Earth, good old home here, we don't have any other place to go. Overpopulation is going to deplete resources. Our natural resources are finite. They're not going to go on forever, and if we have overpopulation, it's going to affect air quality, water quality, our oils and gases, anything that's natural to the planet. If more people are depleting it every day, there's going to be a problem eventually. We're going to have to find a new Earth. Does religion have a part to play in reducing overpopulation? There are a lot of religions in the world, and lots of religions want you to populate. They want, that's the reason, I won't say the religion, but there are some Christian religions that want you to have big, gigantic families. Not trying to reduce overpopulation, they're wanting more and more. But I don't know of a religion that's trying to reduce overpopulation. I think religion in the beginning never had to deal with overpopulation. Uh, no, do you think the Earth might be so overpopulated one day that there will be no more space for us? Theoretically, that's possible. Theoretically, we could deplete our resources and the population just starts dying. They don't have food, they don't have water. Theoretically, that could happen. I hope before that would happen, something, cooler heads, whatever will prevail. We got to find a way to do that now and not later. Don't wait for the problem to be so big that it's not fixable. Do you think there should be a limit on the number of children couples can have in countries with overpopulation? Okay, here we're going to go back. Theoretically, it may be a good idea to regulate through birth control how many children you can have. But again, you see the disaster that was created by China on this. China thought, well, hey, we'll go to one child, y'all have a baby, have a family, and all is well. Then they saw the differences between boy and girl. And the population's getting older. It's harder to find jobs, blah, blah, blah. So now they're saying, okay, y'all should have more babies. You can have 2. Now, well, you can have 3. I tell you what, y'all just go out and make as many babies as you can because we need to rejuvenate China. See? So again, there's no right or wrong answer. If it's done smartly, maybe it could work. Maybe every family could have 2 children, not 10. Who knows? But I'm not the one to decide that. But again, this is just my opinion, okay? That's why you're listening to this. You're just listening to me talk, and hopefully your listening is good. Do you think scientists should stop inventing new medicines to stop overpopulation? If they're wanting to stop overpopulation, we got to be talking about sterility medicine or operations done on our bodies that keep us from making more children. The scientists can investigate all they want, but putting it into practice is going to be something different. And that's kind of like playing God a little bit. While some ideas on one hand sound okay, on the other hand it's like, oh my God, I don't know about that. Something to think about. Should infertility research and treatments, including surrogacy, be continued? I think everybody has the right to have a child. I think that's why we're put on earth. We're put on earth to eat, drink, and make babies. We're an animal. Like it or not, we're an animal, and that's our mission in life, is to continue life. So if somebody is infertile, they should have a chance to be fertile and have a child. Hope that sounds okay to you. That's the only answer I can think that makes any sense. I didn't create the questions, I'm just answering them. It's like a big interview. And our last question, guys, is overpopulation a problem for poor or rich people? Again, we talked about it earlier. I think for the rich people, it just doesn't matter about overpopulation. They have the money, they can buy food, they have a house to live in. I don't think overpopulation will affect them like it does the poor people. The poor people, the middle class people, they are the masses. They're the ones that feel the effects of any kind of decision, any kind of problem. If it's financial, if it's medical, whatever it is, the poor people feel it first, every time. And so again, I will say overpopulation will be most threatening to the poor people. It will affect the poor people the most. All right. So anyhow, there's a little bit about overpopulation. Again, make sure you go back and you listen to what I'm saying. Then you can check yourself, hit that little caption button on the YouTube channel and listen to what I'm saying, okay, or read my words. They usually do a pretty good job. And, of course, I always put captions in some of my videos also, but I try to change the game up a little bit for you. Right? I want to push you into really listening to my voice and then checking your listening. All right? So, yeah, you have a great and wonderful day, and we'll come back with something else really soon. So take care. Bye-bye. 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 See you later.